Here's everyone, welcome aboard. Happy Friday to you guys. March 25th, 2011. Here's your live trading recap. We are getting closer and closer to the end of the first quarter. Now, I know we've been waiting for this, right? End of the first quarter for, boy, it feels like forever now, but it's actually only been 1 week. We have about a week and a half at the end of the first quarter where things slow way down, and we are right in the middle of it right now. Friday morning, we expected the Friday at the end of the first quarter to be kind of a wild card. All right, we didn't really know what to expect. We usually have pretty good Fridays, but we expected end of the day, or should I say end of the first quarter on a Friday, right? We're obviously kind of looking forward to see what this day was going to be like. We expected a slow start, but we had 8:30 news, and it wasn't just any 8:30 news, it was GDP news. So we expected to have something happening at 8:30, and we talked about this morning while we were preparing for our day at 7:45. If you missed the morning prep today, we post the morning prep on the blog, and then we go over the morning prep together in the trade room at 7:45. And this morning we talked about it, and we said, all right, the goal was to get either above expectations or below expectations at 8:30. But what happened? We had as expected. So GDP comes out at 8:30. I think it was 0.01% lower than they expected. So pretty much a flat news number at 8:30. Flat news on a Friday morning. Again, we were looking for something higher than expected, something lower than expected, something that would kind of catch the market off guard and make it move. Didn't get it at 8:30, so we kept waiting. Right? We knew right away at 8:30 though, when we saw that thing slow down after the news like that, we were, ah boy. Right, here we are again. Friday morning. Usually it's a good Friday, so we kept waiting. No action at 8:30. Gold and crude were very narrow. And I want to bring your attention here, guys, to the lower right-hand corner. This is just a snapshot of the 13 range chart here on the gold this morning. And both the gold and the crude looked exactly the same. And you'll notice here we've got this sideways range. Now, the sideways range is fine. In fact, I kind of prefer to trade sideways ranges. But what really kind of piled up here, you can see all these red flags. Now, sideways ranges are fine, but when you see the high and the low, right, look at how small. That's only 60 ticks of range, right, from top to bottom. So that's the first thing we see is a narrow trading range. The second thing I notice here is that we have a flattening trigger line. And you'll notice we've got the thin trigger line, right, flattens out. And then you've got this thicker, what we call the BMT, the big money trigger line, is also right in here in flat. Okay, so that was the flat trigger lines and the BMT line. And then you'll notice there's actually a dotted green line right here. That's the open. Right? So we started out here, we went up, and we came right back down, and here we are at the open. We also know that this yellow line here, this orange line, tough to see, but there's an orange line right here. This is actually a trend line. And this trend line is the top of a price channel, right? So there's another trend line way down here. We're at the top of this price channel. And we always know that trend lines typically will get sloppy if we have slow, low speed, which we did. So we're looking at this chart this morning and we're saying, boy, here we are, just got through the 8:30 news. We had no real spark after the 8:30 news. And we look at the charts and we say, all right, guys, we got to put together a plan of attack. And immediately I see here narrow range, flat trigger lines at the open, major trend line support. It was very slow speed. Friday morning, end of the first quarter, right? That is a red flag, right? If you've ever seen them before. Now, what ended up happening was we actually got the gold to come down, test the lows, and then I bought the lows here. All right, but to give you an example of what we saw this morning at 8:30, though. Right, that's a great heads up of what we saw this morning at 8:30.